right.
That's the newcomers. Thank you. How many people have presented here before? Okay, 1, 2. Okay, how many people are presenting today?
Thank you.
All right, Lori, Chris, thank you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're going to do today, and then I will welcome you today. Okay, and then I'll call Tori out. And we'll get it started. So for those of you who are looking at this is their first time at 1 million cups. 1 million cups is a nationwide programming weekly event. It was born out of the Kauffman Foundation in 2012, and they started putting on these 6-minute presentations under the guise that 1 million cups of coffee shared among entrepreneurs and small businesses would educate, inspire, and connect one another. And from there, great ideas are born, movement, momentum are born, and build businesses and community and intellectual capital. So there are now, I think, about 110 communities. They've done over 30,000 presentations, and it looks just like this. You guys come in on your Wednesday. The space is contributed, in this case, by Team Working by TechNexus. They're a long name, but they give us the space for free. They monetize the space that we use, and they say, you know what, you guys just come over a presentation, and if people want to stay and co-work, they can get the products, they can stick around. If people want to talk to us about membership, there's a 10% off discount for those of you who attend 1MC. So please consider talking to somebody about the space, get a real look around. We also, because it's 1 million cups of coffee, we get a coffee sponsorship. And so we use our coffee sponsor, cup this morning. It's provided to us by U3, which is a nice story because U3 was founded by serial entrepreneurs who are at the end of their career, later stage in their career, and decided, you know what, we should just also give back to the community. And so they've got a coffee shop, they have a roastery, they're putting together a proper business, but they also supply us with coffee in 71 and are really helping us space ecosystem. So for the format, we call it 2 presenters. They get 6 minutes to present, we have 20 minutes for Q&A. And the presentation will end with the 1 million cups mantra that every single community nationwide asks, which is what can music community do for you? And that's really one of the, I guess, more unique and differentiated things about 1 million cups is because we ask the question, what can music community do for you? And that's really where the power comes from. Is it a networking event? I don't know, at some point you guys will talk and meet somebody new, but we exchange information, and that's what else is networking. Is it a pitch event? I mean, somebody is going to come up 30%, but they're not going to ask you for capital. They're not going to try to sell you their product. They're really here to tell their story, what inspired them to get started, where they are in their progress, and where they might be stuck. And that's where the fucking music community for you really kind of reveals itself, because some of you out in the audience may be experiencing or have experienced the problem that the presenter brings up. And if you've experienced it before, if you've been around people who have worked with the solution, you can raise your hand and say, hey, have you thought of this, or you might want to consider such and such. And if you're one of the members of the audience also going through a similar challenge, you might say, ooh, I think we'll have a kick today, because you're hearing the exchange of ideas, and maybe there's something you get out of it personally. So it's a pretty good vibe, it's high energy, we have a really open and honest conversation about what we think presenters might be able to do to get that stuff. So why don't we get started? And call our first presenter, Lori. And if I could give her a standing ovation, how fun would that be? All right.
Building, I want to tell you about what brings me to this work. So looking back at my career, this is my last day of my first job. I was a Teach for America teacher. I taught high school special education and standard students. And I remember March or so of their senior year, I finally pulled my head out of the confusion that was my first job. And I asked them, hey, what are you doing after you graduate from high school? Like, what's next? And so many of my students excitedly said, I'm working at Family Dollar, I'm working at Wendy's, I'm working at the grocery store. And on my part, I thought that's a failure of the school system. There's nothing wrong with Wendy's or Family Dollar, but I don't want they leave the building. They're drifting through without connecting today with tomorrow's outcomes. And then they don't necessarily explore their career, nor do they have a sense of what they're going to do after 10 years from now. And then by senior year, when people start asking them questions, they feel anxious. They're not exactly sure what they should be doing. They just notice everyone's walking across the stage and no one knows where everyone else is going. And for the students in my school building, a lot of them were already affiliated with the justice system. And so the consequences are dire when students don't know what they're going to do. And what I went on to learn, because I've been pursuing this question throughout my entire career, is that the root cause of this is information friction. It's not a question of students being motivated, it's access to information that students don't have by way of being lower income or having people in their community who can ask them questions or give them advice. And so my co-founder and I created QuestVen. The why is because we don't want to see students continue to graduate without a sense of what they're going to do. We want to make sure they're empowered to explore early, plan smart, and design lives that are filled with opportunity. And so what's the solution? This is a product that students can access in a browser and on their mobile devices. And then they'll start to explore early based on their strengths, their interests, and their evolving goals. So they tell us about themselves by creating a profile. And then what we do is we map pathways based on what they say they like doing across college and both workforce. And that includes scholarships and financial aid. So we help you figure out how to get there. And then lastly, we don't want to leave students with the question of exactly how to create their plan or put it into action. So not only do we give them recommendations, we also give them tactical resources and tools in order to execute their plan. So imagine being able to track your deadlines as far as what standardized tests you may need to take, which essays you need to complete, financial aid reminders, and then if there are local programs that are available or aligned with students' interests, we'll recommend how to apply for those programs as well. So here's how it works. When you first log into QuestVen, you're met with a interactive advisor, and this advisor prompts you by asking you questions about who you are, what grade you're in, what you like doing, how you spend your time, and this dynamic experience is meant to help us understand what exactly you're interested in. And then by engaging in this natural dialogue, we built a profile for you about your interests, your strengths, and your goals. And what do we do with that information? We try to surface the right path for you. So based off of where you are physically, we can recommend some personalized pathways. So if you say that you aren't sure if you want to go to college, no problem. We can recommend some local workforce solutions. In addition to that, if you are interested in college, we can recommend specific scholarships and financial aid opportunities. And what I also love about the product is that we can give you some next clear action so that you're not just left knowing what other opportunities exist. You can create a plan for putting those steps in motion. Now I want to tell you about our secret sauce. How do we do this? And this is something that I'm really proud of as well. We've developed QuestVen's brain so that it helps students understand which opportunities exist for them specifically. So it's not just personalized, it's context aware. So let me tell you what I mean by that. If a student says in that first dialogue with our advisor that they are first generation or they're low income, we'll surface opportunities that are specifically intended for lower income students. And one thing that I want to highlight is that we strive to direct them toward high outcome paths that are aligned with economic mobility, not just a brand name. So for example, there's been a lot of studies about which colleges actually help students graduate with less debt and access to higher paid careers. We're not necessarily going to recommend a lower income student to go to Harvard, for example, because yes, it's a great brand, but DePaul University actually is on the list of helping students graduate with high economic mobility. So maybe offer students weak path, but it helps them achieve a life where they have access to opportunity. And then I want to introduce you to myself and my
But it came up first. What have you met any nonprofits or students, and what vehicles, efforts, meetings that you would try to explore?
Yeah.
Can you tell us that?
Yeah, I have interviewed about 10 students,
Okay.
mainly students of people in my personal community, and asked them to poke around and explore the chat box.
And go from ACC scores.
No. Yeah, we do ask about the ACC score in the product, but yes, it would be great if we could integrate data.
Okay, I have one question for Chairman.
I think it's built in.
So I know, Anthony pointed out he is from children. And I don't know if they're exactly your age demographic, but talking about how to like, I think economic mobility and starting to like that. So I'll check out. Two questions. How do you make money and how do you motivate the students to like actually fill out this form and like do go through the process? Like I know a lot of people it's like, oh well if I do this so for your Dollar Tree or like why like I feel like we're school having to go there.
Thanks, Kayla. So we make money, first of all, the first 100 credits that a student uses is free to them, so that is basically a premium. And then after they reach no more credits, they have to pay $5. And the reason that we structured it that way is because students seem to be more familiar with this usage-based pricing through like Ryan Pads. And when I interviewed the students, they were saying, like a lot of my students when I taught high school had jobs. And so I thought like $5 is okay for them to just like poke around and explore as they need it. And I didn't want you to just like constantly taking money out of their pocket if they don't feel like they need an advisor. But the advisor interaction takes around 7 to 10 minutes. It takes longer if the student tells us more information, of course. And then there are some elements of gamification in the product that we think will help them continue.
Have you tested that with students?
That's the part I want to see if they have enough endurance to finish.
I worry that like it's gonna feel like a homework assignment.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid concern.
Who else? Yeah.
There's an organization called Discovery Partners Institute. They do programs with high school students, and I'm an instructor with them, so happy to connect with some leaders there to maybe get more users or more courses.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. That's awesome.
I do want to ask, so the 10 students you interviewed, you're doing customer discovery. I guess how are you finding them? Are you seeing numbers of them? There's a conversion discussion.
Oh, yeah.
And the results of the efforts you try to, people are going to say, well, maybe you could try this if you already tried it. Or, if you're like, wow, I don't know what I do in that situation. Hearing some success like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been mostly, the first round of students were children of my own community.
Okay.
And so I've been deepening with them and not asking to expand outside of them. But I think that's a great idea that maybe I can say, like, can I talk to one of your friends?
Yeah.
I was also thinking, like, I could probably do something at my after-school program and just meet the students a pizza or something and see if they can get through that intake form.
We talk a lot about, I call it gatekeeper marketing, but it's sort of getting to many through one. And so if you can connect to the job fairs, people who run job fairs, people who run the postgraduate career office for local universities where you already have a network, the access, you got to get to one, one gives you access to many. So gatekeeping marketing is something we talk a lot about when I see people looking at scrappy, and we generally have low to no marketing budgets. The other thing, and CJ will help me next, the other thing is there's always somebody selling to the market you're selling to. It's just a fact. Like, it's not even competitors. It's a different type of, if you're doing career, they're doing leadership, you're doing career, they're doing interview prep, you're going to get the job, you're going to negotiate the salary, your financial literacy. If there's anybody you can build a network with who's already established and selling to the market you're targeting, discovery as another way to kind of act for your own efficiency. So that's all I agree. CJ, go ahead.
Have you considered?
Sorry, here. The vents are really loud here.
Sorry. Have you considered engaging a street team or yourself and just going to all of the street festivals that are all summer, all of the kids festivals that are all summer? There's so many just like street festivals that, like, you know, public and private in all neighborhoods. And I mean, I think just having that at like the hundreds of outdoor festivals, and they'll give that space away to charitable causes, to like low income. As long as you're not trying to sell something, a lot of these festivals need booths.
Yeah.
They need cool shit, and this is very cool. But that's gonna be the best for kids. You're gonna get so many kids. You're gonna capture so many kids and parents on Saturday and Sunday at every street fest in summer.
I love that idea. Thank you.
We can talk more later if you'd like. If you'd like.
Thanks, Irene. So if anyone in the back could hear, she was saying, like, how do you expose more people to different types of jobs? And I think that's going to be even more important in the future because the job landscape is changing so quickly. Wilson and I were talking about that, and we thought, you know, one opportunity could actually be to plug in with corporate companies' employee volunteerism programs and have them like create some sort of videos or something so that if a student is interested in product management, nobody knows what that is in high school. So it would be interesting to just have a product manager like have a video or something like this is what I do.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share, kind of along the point of, you know, single gatekeeping marketing. To give a real world example, I worked for United Healthcare, and they had an education pillar, and I worked with the director, and she was constantly looking for students because that attracts people to the business and the company, and it kind of proves the funding that they have to use it. So she was constantly looking, in this case for nursing students specifically because it was healthcare, but I really think maybe you could try reaching out to companies and say, hey, I have students that are willing to either volunteer, intern, do you have an education pillar or program or an internship of that kind? I saw it in the real world, so I just wanted to do that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I forget that people have like a focus on education and sometimes don't have an education strategy.
Or they could be inspired to be a nurse or something else or something, you know, you never know.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
So I came from this space as a little kid, right? And couldn't afford to go to college, so it was kind of into me in a sense, not physically, but that I don't even think about it. Like, don't even think about college. Don't think you're just gonna get a job. So a lot of times I had tunnel vision when it came to programs, no matter who talked to me about them. I would incentivize other kids to bring in kids because outside of that, I would not have listened. And then also maybe catch them at their jobs when they stop, because the jobs do stop. And you realize at that point that, yeah, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life.
So then you go back to the product.
So then you're like, all right, maybe I would. So I did eventually go to college. I have actually 2 degrees now. But it took me to like realize how bad those jobs sucked.
I love that point. And it just makes me think about like all of us have these stories of that moment after high school where like you kind of figure out exactly what to do and you might realize your thinking was tunnel vision on one.
I wasn't going to listen to anybody.
Yeah, not an adult, like not someone who you perceive as outdated.
I just thought nothing applied to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Last question, Kat.
I mean, I guess I was gonna kind of align with that in terms of thinking about, like, bringing the product to them when they're feeling that pain. So like, yeah, either it's in like the first job and you're like, wow, this job is like terrible, like what options do I have? Maybe that's like later than what you prefer, but I do agree that like I was in high school at one point, like unless I felt pain about something, like I was not going to go like do some like it's gonna feel like a homework assignment, right? Like, oh, like I have to do this. But if I'm like, you know, so like your point on when the students start having anxiety about like, oh, what am I gonna do? Like even that's in your here, like that's a little bit late, but like at least at some point they start using it, and then like the more students start using it, and their peers are using it. I think to her point, like if your peers start using it, and maybe younger students start using it. But I think thinking about when that pain point is and who within the school is asking those questions that is like triggering that anxiety, and then giving them a tool.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lori. So, it's really good feedback. So, for those of you who couldn't hear over the HVAC system, I think one of the things, there's a sort of a consistent theme in the feedback for Lori, which is really getting the people she does talk to provide other resources to talk to. And it's similar in networking, it's similar in customer discovery. Often we say in networking, at the end of the call, you can ask somebody, is there anything I can do for you? That's a great sort of way to present yourself. You could also, in a networking call, in a customer discovery call, be thinking through other people I should be speaking with. And that's a great way to get more people into the pipeline. Can you think of anybody that I should be talking to? And it sounds like that really came out with the feedback. I think that was really good. So, thank you guys. This is 1MC. I wanted to already thank our sponsors. So now, before I call Chris up, are there any events coming up that the audience should be aware of?
Real quick, Mike. You can get a speaker. Okay. We'll try running this around and see if it helps.
Okay. Events coming up. Okay, no events. It's good. You know why? It's because an average person like here.
That's
For those of you whose first time this is, there are two people who will always talk about either Tech Walk, which you can go online to learn about, and that's really walking out the city with a group and talking about technology. And then, like a beer and pizza, oh, you can see Jay about this one. Man, nobody knows about this left. But there's another event for like a coding. I don't know, I'm not technical.
This week there is the Chicago City Nature Blitz event happening in Chicago.
The Chicago City Nature Blitz.
Yes, so it's sponsored by nature.organization platform, and they're organizing different events across town, or you can just go and take pictures of trees, birds, insects, other kind of stuff, and just run and make sure that something people website, the City Nature Blitz.
City Nature Blitz.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So we're going to call the center to meet him Chris around the block.
Literally touch grass.
Well, Stuart, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. So just very quickly about me, I've spent most of my life in the corporate world. Don't feel sorry for that. But I had the opportunity to lead large organizations, large transformations. And while I wasn't a fan of the bureaucracy, I was really passionate about helping others become more possible. Challenging people to grow and develop. There we go. And while I was there, I realized what I really wanted to do is help as many people as I can. Because I could stay in the corporate world and maybe connect with 5 or 6 people a year. But I was going to be able to. The other thing I realized is supervisors, entry-level leaders, mid-level leaders typically don't get the support they need. And that ties to what we see here. There's a cost in business that we just largely accepted, thank you, Stuart, as the price of business, and that is leadership development is expensive. So the actual problem looks like this. If I'm a new leader, or if I'm a leader in a smaller, medium-sized business, I rely on low-cost general options, podcasts, books, videos, TED Talks. They don't give me any insights about myself, but they're helping me to learn. Maybe I get a mentor, maybe I have a friend in the family. The challenge is to get to here personalized feedback is thousands of dollars, and most people can't afford it. And we've largely just accepted that that's the way it is. You can hear me? Okay. Elevate volume in the back. Okay. So where we see an opportunity is in between those two is accessible personalized solutions using AI and technology. So instead of thousands of dollars a year, think $60 a month, $600 a year for an annual subscription or a monthly subscription. Now, what does it look like? So let me walk you through the screenshots. The way our platform works is you sign up. It's going to ask you some initial questions about your role and government, but the industry that you work in is not going to ask you about the government. It's going to ask you about the government. But it's going to ask you about your role, the industry you're in, and then that will determine which surveys you qualify for. So in the last few years, we did research around exceptional leaders and published a book last year. And from there, we built out proprietary 360s on how you lead peers, how you lead direct reports, how you lead the organization. And then from there, you get your results of what were your self-assessments, what were your stakeholder feedback. Now, traditionally, this is where things would stop, right? Traditionally, it's, okay, you got your results, you're on your own, good luck. This is where we see opportunities. So what we do is we leverage an AI coach to help build your action plan. Specific steps that are time-bound, and then the AI coach will follow up with you to say, hey, Chris, it's been a week, you haven't made any actions, or you've got this due in a week, what's your plan? And then also, we have a general AI coach if you have questions, if you have feedback, and then in addition to that, we've got interactive AI courses that do role playing on specific topics. You want to learn how to give better coaching and feedback to a peer, to direct reports. You want to learn how to lead peers more effectively. And then we're growing our library of our interactive courses. And then the two pieces that I'm actually more excited about than AI, I know that may be hard to believe, is when you agree to share your data, you can then see who else is working on the same thing. And you can connect, kind of like on LinkedIn. So if I see Stuart is working on the same thing, I reach out and say, hey Stuart, I see you're also working to improve being calm under pressure. Let's work together. The other piece is we're going to have group challenges where for 1 month you can join a cohort where it's all about coaching and feedback. How can I be better at giving coaching and feedback, and the cohort works together. And then ultimately it ties to mastery levels. You come in at a level 1. So I work to improve, I get points by completing actions, by completing courses, by working with peers. We also have a community board where you can post what you did so other people can learn from it. You get points for that. And then as you go up, you can qualify to be a mentor. And then we're also looking at accreditation at higher levels. And then we also figured with the higher levels, you can get access to invite-only workshops, roundtables that you only get if you make it to the higher levels. So there's incentive to make it to the higher levels. So this is the platform, this is how it works. Our broader vision is while we're starting with leadership development this year, we want to get to people development. So sales, project management, marketing, same process. We have assessments, an AI coach, and interactive courses, community, and mastery levels. We see a huge opportunity here because traditionally these things are expensive to get there. And then we also connect to a AI-assisted growth development plan. We have this in beta. We haven't released this yet. And then we also want to have a growth portal where you can connect to speakers, facilitators, coaches. So maybe the AI doesn't work for you, you want a coach, we'll connect you to one so you can help you with it. So traction so far, our MVP came out in November. We did our first round of beta testing in December of last year. We learned a lot, made a lot of improvements. In March, actually 4 weeks ago, we just launched the beta version and our updated website. So thank you. I'm learning a lot about security. say the least. And then our plan is to launch this summer. So just with the beta launch, we have 6 major companies that are signed up for pilots. We're using insights for marketing to also for the launch this summer. And then we've been onboarded with Banco HR as a partner, and we've been accepted for Workday, built for the Workday program. And just quick observation, we found that HR leaders don't want to talk to us, but business leaders do. So that's the path. It's very interesting. And if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to share. So my ask for the folks in this room is we're thinking about our go-to-market and marketing. One of the things I struggle with personally is how specific do we need to be? So we're looking at pharmaceutical, medical devices, just that's where I came from, I can speak the language. But do we target that individual person? Do we target a team? That's what we're trying to work on. The other thing is our app is actually free right now. So if you go to our website, enlumagroup.com, and then go to sign up, anybody is welcome to use it, to get access to all the surveys, the coach, everything. So any and all feedback, good and especially bad feedback, we'd like the constructive feedback, how we can make it better, that would be fantastic. So, yeah, just again, Chris Bragg, and the last thing I'll say is, if you're a founder, what you're doing is hard. It is not easy. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say there were some days I applied for jobs. But if you have problems, if I could help you in any way, that's fine. Let's see how we can collaborate, because this is part of what you're doing, and let's try to make it easy for each other. So thank you very much. Yeah, so ironically, the pilot I'm excited about the most was just coincidence. Yeah. A guy I used to work with at Appy left Appy, went to United, went to McDonald's. And so now I'm on McDonald's IT. I did not know the group that he was in. So reached out to him and just said, hey David, great to connect. He said, Chris, we're very interested in what you're doing. I said, okay, that's interesting. Like your group. And he said, no, I'm in the learning technology group for all McDonald's. So that was okay. I did not see that coming. So we're thinking about that. And others, it's all through my network. It's all people I've worked with in the past, I've connected, or I'm also to share how I do outreaches on LinkedIn. It's been very effective. Low friction outreaches. Reaching out to say, hey, I like the content that you're doing. It's really interesting. And love to chat, learn more about that. No sales pitch, none whatsoever, and right now I'm getting about 80% acceptance. Okay, which is, I did go through a coach, but I didn't want to do that.
So for how specific should we target? Any thoughts? I have thoughts, but wait to see the audience does. I read a blog post about DC early, starting my company. I did send you this thing. I thought it was interesting. Their take was that every market is really just a network of niches. You gotta start super small and just branch out from there. I've been building super social, and sometimes I feel like I niche down too hard. And then I remember like TikTok when it came out was just Gen Z kids doing dance videos, and now it's obviously a lot more. Yeah. On the flip side, I still won't download TikTok because I think it's Gen Z kids doing dance videos, and I don't even know there's something left. So I do think in not oversimplified, I think there is a trade-off when you niche down too hard. Your network's a good niche too, it sounds like. So I mean, it depends how far you like candidates get with that. So I don't know if I made that even more complicated, but I do think picking something pretty specific to start is
decide on your end, like your avatar can be very niche, and then you can show up in places where they would be, but there's so many other fish that swim around them. So you can get really specific, but you're not necessarily going to turn people away. It's just helping you make the decisions you need to make. So yeah, I think there's kind of two sides to that. Where you don't have to get so niche down, but when you do, it helps you choose the 5 little pools to swim in instead of the whole ocean. It's really more for you than for telling people who they need to be working.
So, I hear you on that. I tend to agree with you on leverage the marketing more, especially as you're starting. One thing I would note though is like you're thinking largely of marketing, the market strategy, but one of the kind of challenges over time and prior businesses that have started, like when you niche down that early and you don't make it known that your platform is somewhat agnostic, you kind of get, so yeah, I would strike a balance, like it's a lot of effort, but if you do want to go into other industries, like start building those relationships now, so that when you're ready to expand into them, you have already talked.
So timing, it was a great feedback. It was careful. How specific do we target? I think the question is, the answer might be now how to answer it.
Yeah.
And this is something I would agree with that. I was like, oh, something about timing. This is a problem. Not yet. You've exhausted your networks, and anything you can do to be everybody to everybody for 10 more minutes, and then really start thinking through, because a lot of this decision is around how the inbound traffic really is perceived the message. When you're the one doing the talking, you're going to understand what you're saying. When we're landing on the site or the landing page or the social media post, and it's doing the talking, different messages for different people, but I don't know that you're going to get so much traffic that this is going to become a problem. And I think the point is, you can make more mistakes going too early than really creating an effort for yourself. Is that fair? Perfect. Thank you. I mean, I don't know if this is perfect. Just holding it will make you feel less strong.
Similar experience to that. I'm a runner coming here about drugs, so like for me, it's always like, okay, what problem are the time involved here? It's specific and hard to kind of find a new contract how to show up with the center. The other thing is complicated and it's almost like the more important. And so people even that's all the more and then otherwise the client will kind of like resolve long in that side. And I am a marketing strategy.
Yeah, so on our website, we're looking at industry specific landing pages. And then with our users right now, identify about 10 to 12 people in interviews and ask them, what problem does it solve? How would you describe it? Because the way we see it may not be the way the user sees it. Yeah, no thank you.
And a lot of the HX isn't even worse. Jump in. You have time. Yeah, if you shut off, I'll shut off again.
I also do have partnerships with Bamboo, with Workday, like those things are going to be really far. Like they have lots of connections that you may not where you are with them right now have access to that. But there will be somebody who works at Workday who wants to use your product and then next week. Like so make sure you're not putting yourself out from your options. But like I've applied to many jobs in Workday, right? Like there are hundreds of companies out there at FPUs that use Workday. And like, how do you place that effort? How do you just like, anytime you talk to them, it's like, oh, you have a customer who like would be interested in something. And that's industry.
No thanks, Dave. It's a great point. You're absolutely right. Workday has 11,000 clients. So, yeah.
Great presentation. As you were showing the platform, I thought of Chicago Innovation. So they are a nonprofit organization, and I'm part of their Collaborate program, which is for Black and Latino innovators, and we get paired up with a mentor. And so it's very kind of ad hoc. Each person or each couple kind of chooses how they do it. We just did a milestone stuff on Google Docs. But they have several programs for women, for different identity groups. And I feel like this would be a great layer on top of that. So something for you to consider if you want to expand outside the fund.
And what we're thinking about is we'll have paying clients and then we won't advertise, but for non-for-profits, that's our goal longer.
That's amazing.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chris. So a few closing remarks. Thank you guys for coming and for the feedback. This is 1MC. I hope you come back. I hope you stay for a little bit. If you need to make a cup of coffee, we'll do another pot. But tell you a little bit about the speakers. It's not uncommon for us to have two presenters that really overlap with one another. We had one today talking about really life as an adult and really exploring and discovering the options you have available to you. You just learn a little bit more about what yourself and what's out there, and then how to develop yourself as a leader once you're out in the real world. But it doesn't have to be that way. So if you're presenting and you're thinking, well, I don't have a buddy who's going to compliment my presentation, like, don't worry about it. Reach out to either one of them. Sorry, my one MC shirt's no laundry. Shows how lazy I am. Your one MC shirt's probably under the sweatshirt. See? Look at that. It is. Find Connor. Find Cecilia. Talk to me. If you're interested in presenting, even if you're like, oh, I'm not sure I'm ready, you're ready. Because all we're asking for is something you're ready. We're just asking you to talk about what you're working on and where you're stuck. So that we can get the back one.
And get ready for the ready for other things.
Oh, and we unexpectedly have an opening next week. There's no better time than now. We have a couple of, if I can speed the deal for presentations, you get a tumbler.